Well, we are live and starting a couple minutes late due to technical difficulties because of craziness. Sometimes Chrome is a bit of a bear. Have you noticed that? Well, I am ecstatic to have you here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I've got some toys to play here on Ecamm. I've been messing around with some of that. So all of this is kind of a big experiment. As I'm using this new tool, I got to get in position because I've got some things that are over here to my left to share with you. And so what I want to do first of all is just invite you to share this live out on your personal stream, and go ahead in the comments. You can list where you're from, where you're listening from. Go ahead and throw some comments in there. Would love to see anyone in there, and I'd be happy to give you a shout out. Today we are talking about clarity. Let me throw up this little thing. Look at that little dealio. We are going live. It says starting shortly, but hey, we've already started, but the content's going to start in just a few moments. But I wanted to get some of the stuff tested, and yes, it's all working, so we are looking fantastic. So I'm going to dive into some content tonight, and I'm going to take a drink of water first. So if you are listening to this on the replay, go ahead and put replay down in the comments and let me know that you're watching. My hope here tonight is to go about 20 minutes. I have an ability, for those of you who have seen me do trainings before, I have an ability to go long if I need to. And typically, it's not hard for me to go an hour and 10 minutes, hour and a half. But we're not going to do that. We're just going to keep it to 20 minutes. So I just have a few notes here I want to share with you guys because I think this is critical, especially in this time of uncertainty. It's all about clarity. It's about finding the things that you need to be stepping out in. And for some of us, hi Chad, great to see you in here. For some of us, we're looking at uncertainty. We're looking at everything that's going on in terms of COVID. We're looking at the political realm. We're looking at the racial things. And it just seems like we are in a crazy time. The first thing I want to do is just kind of level set. As a species, we have gone through these kinds of things before. It may not seem, hey, Chris Brogan, great to see you in here. It may not seem like we have been through some of these crazy things before, but we have. We've been through multiple plagues, multiple recessions, and you may not know this. This is our 44th or 43rd recession in the history of our country. And we've always been able to come back. So no matter where we're at as this thing kind of plays out, know that things will change. So I just want to level set with that. And let's get started with getting clear. And the first thing I want to do is just kind of show you something very, very simple. You know, in and amongst everything that we're dealing with, there's always going to be this noise, opinions, pressure, and experience. So let me unpack that for you. The noise is everything I just spelled out. We are looking at media cycles that are just screaming at us. The politics are just screaming at us. The latest updates of everything that's going on with the coronavirus. The noise is deafening. You got to be able to turn that stuff off. Second piece is the opinions. In and amongst all that, we've seen over the last several months, some of our friends have become a massive expert on what's going on with COVID. They're keeping stats, they're making projections, Everybody's got an opinion about that. Everybody's got an opinion about Black Lives Matter. Everybody's got an opinion about the politics. Those opinions, if you listen to enough of them, it can be very aggravating, and it can be stirring of your emotions and your psyche. It's distracting. Third piece of this is your pressure. For those of you who lost business or lost your jobs during this season, first of all, heartfelt to you. I know what that's like. I lost my job in the last recession. Ironically, I lost a job during the recession before that. So I'm batting 2 for 3 right now. I feel for you. And I got to tell you this, it's okay. The hiring is going to start again. The opportunities are going to present themselves. Dial into friends, dial into relationships. and look at the opportunities that you have before you to iterate or to reinvent. That's part of what we're going to talk about in this clarity. And then the last piece is your experience. Many times we can look at the way things have gone before. I could say, I went through 2 recessions where I lost my job. I could probably expect the next recession right now, I'm going to lose my job as well. Not true. Just because you experienced it at one season doesn't mean you're going to experience it again. These are the kinds of cycles that create stories in our minds. So I built an acronym around that, and I like to use acronyms. You're going to see a lot of them tonight. It's NOPE. It's noise, opinion, your pressure, and experience. Just say NOPE. So that's where we're going to start tonight. And I want to get super clear. And what I mean by that is another acronym. Okay? In getting clear, there's a component of calm, listen, emotion, action, and repeat. And I've got a slide for that later here in our presentation, and I'll share that with you. But I want to give you the good stuff right out the gate. First thing is, take a breath. When you're seeking clarity for your next steps, it is more a matter of you getting calm more than anything else. We're going to talk about the emotional impact of some of this in just a little bit. Those emotions are the things that are keeping a lot of the minutia going on in your brain. It's keeping you up, not being able to sleep. It's maybe affecting your eating habits. It's creating stress and anxiety when you cannot be calm. And you say, hey, guess well, how do I get calm? Like, there are many ways where you can do meditation. There are different pieces of music that you can listen to. There's taking a walk. There's many ways that you can kind of just dial in. I like to float in the swimming pool. I just go in there and I just chill and I float. That's how I get calm. Second piece is listen. Many times during all of this, what we'll do is we'll stay busy. And so we'll try and get a lot of books. We'll try and get a lot of video feeds. We'll try and go through a lot of Google searches. And we're like trying to take information about a new job, information about the current events, information about what I should do. And we're taking in all this information. We're trying to do all this listening. We're trying to do all this learning. And what you need to do instead is just listen. Getting quiet allows you to hear your greatest asset, and that's your inner voice. You have some unctions inside of you that speak to you in your heart of hearts. The things that is that little voice into you that says, hey, what if we tried this? What if we did that? It's this thing that you've been given that in some realms it's a premonition, in some wells it's an unction, in some realms it's your conscious. It's this thing inside you that is your guide and compass. And most of us don't take the time to listen to what it is it's speaking. We don't listen to our own hearts. And many times we're so distracted by the stuff around us, we can't just focus on what are the things that are important to me. We'll talk about that a little bit more in just a second. Action. Emotion. So the first one is calm, the second one is listen, the third one is emotion. The emotions that you feel. We're going to unpack this realm of emotion in context of psychology. As you're listening to all these things, you tell yourself different stories about those as if they were truth. Some of those opinions, some of the things that you've formed out of all that. I like to say sometimes our minds are like concrete. They're thoroughly mixed and well set. And we have these opinions that we like set and hold true and say, well, this is a fact, and this is going to happen, and this is true. And the reality is oftentimes those things are none of those. It's just merely your opinion. You've created an emotion around that particular thing. So for instance, you're like, well, I couldn't do that job because it requires this, this, and this, and I don't think I'm capable of that. I've never done that before. Well, A, you've never done that before. And B, how do you know if you're not capable? You never did that before. And so we negate ourselves from opportunities because of an emotion. We can look at the things that are going around and we can say, oh my gosh, these things are super scary. it's going to happen to me. Or we get into worry, stress, and anxiety, and we're like saying, well, I hope it doesn't happen to me. I hope it doesn't. And you ultimately bring around such a negative energy that you deplete your body of its resistance abilities. You put yourself in a place where you start to self-sabotage things around you because your emotions are so consumed around this worry or the stress. And now you can't operate. You can't interact with the people around you. You can't actually open up doors of opportunity. You can't have quality and conversations or a high caliber relationship because you are operating on one record that keeps spinning around and around and around. That's the emotional aspect of it. Your psychology says that whatever you're experiencing internally, it seeks equilibrium, so it wants to experience that externally. So if you have chaos on the inside, you're only going to do chaos on the outside. You will do that subconsciously, and you don't even realize it. Next piece is action. Once you've settled yourself to get into calm, once you've settled yourself into listening, and then dialing in that emotion, and letting go of all the stuff that's causing you to feel negatively, you can step into an action because the voice that you hear reveals to you your next step. That's a big piece I'm pausing on. This isn't about trying to do the big stuff. It's not whatever your next step is, the end-all be-all, and you cannot turn, you cannot break, you cannot get away from. We often think that the next step has to be the right step, and then we think, oh, what if I get it wrong? What if I get it wrong? I'm going to be stuck, and I might screw it up. It's like, no. Slow down. Slow your roll, Joe. It's about taking the next step. What is that next step? It's not as big as you think it is. Your heart is telling you just to take a next step. It's pick up the phone, make that call, send that email, post that thing. The actions that you take and the clarity you're seeking are found in the small, not the large. And then the last piece of this, the fifth piece of this is repeat. Go back to getting calm. Dial into listening. Go back into dialing in your emotion. Getting that place of taking the next step, the action, right? So we're simplifying it. So that's all the big stuff. And the reason why so much of this is important is because if you look at the emotional quotient of this, what oftentimes happens is we'll slip into a place of panic, in which case some people call it gripping. Like if I were to take this little ruler and I grip this thing, I got it, I can't let it go. What happens is, in gripping, it's almost like this is a funnel. And the things that you're seeking that have to flow through this funnel, you have choked off because you're trying so hard to control it and wield it. I gotta wield this thing into submission. And we think we have to craft our future, and we have to concoct it, and we have to manufacture it. And as you do that, you actually do the opposite of what you're hoping for. You negate the opportunity. You take away the thing that you're looking for, and that is whatever that next step is. You can't see clearly. You're gripping. So instead of trying to wield, instead you can yield to it, open it up, and let the truth fall out. Things will reveal themselves when you yield. It's like I went golfing with a friend of mine once, and he actually was a pastor from South Africa, really cool dude. And I was having a really bad golf game. And he said, one time he, I don't know, it was like the sixth hole or something. He's like, brother, if you don't cuss, I'm going to cuss for you. And again, this is coming from the pastor. It was hilarious. And then he said something really interesting as we were going towards the end of the 9 holes before we went started on the back 9. He said, Angus, life is a lot like golf. The harder you try, the worse you do. Let go, brother. Let the club do the work. And that's a metaphor for you, is some of this is just you yielding to your gift and yielding to your dreams and deciding for yourself, like, what is it that you want? So from this wielding to yielding, we get to this place, and excuse me, I'm going to find my slide. I can't find it. So we are in a place where we think this is what I ought to do. This is what I'm supposed to do. This is what I should do. And these become obligations. So if we're in obligation mode, then there's this constant performance. If instead we realize this isn't what I'm supposed to do, this is what I ought to do, this is not what I should do, it's what I want to do. See the difference? If you've taken the time to get clear, calm, listening, emotion in check, and taking your action, and then repeating that accordingly, then you get to that place where instead of seeing it as a performance, it's in a preparation. You're always preparing for the next step. You're preparing for what's before you. I always like to say this, I say, life prepares you for what life is preparing for you. And if you take the time to listen, you learn the lessons and you get better and stronger. And then you realize that life is not happening to you, it's happening for you. It's giving you strength and wisdom and advantage for your future. So take off the anxiety, because now you realize that in the situation you're in, you're born for this and you're in preparation mode. So we believe that we are to do these things, and our life destiny is like in this place of a planned state. Like that's the trap, is we think like it can only look this way, it can only be done this way. Instead, it's realizing like, I don't know if you realize this, you probably didn't plan to get to where you are now. And where you were 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, did you plan to get to those places too? Probably not. We think we're always in control, but really the whole time we're making this stuff up as we go. And we are iterating along the way. And we pivot and we change and we just kind of feel our way through. Why is this any different? Why do we keep telling ourselves like today, this is the day I take control, this is the day I got it all under? No, it's silly. But this is what we tell ourselves. This is what we think about ourselves. And then we make it harder for ourselves because we're trying so hard to take control and we're gripping. So I want to get granular here. Ultimately, clarity, I said, is emotional, right? And when we gain and lose clarity according to what we believe about ourselves. So whatever we're believing about ourselves, good or bad, is now influencing that ability of whether you gain or lose clarity. And so the measurement you have in your own mind will create confusion if that measurement is misaligned. And now it's like you're fighting with yourself for gaining what's that next step. And again, most of us aren't even looking at the next step. We're trying to look at like 15 steps down the line. And that lies a multiplication of conflict. And so there's one piece of this I really want you to see, is that if you just dial it back into whatever the next step is, you have to come from it from one of two angles. And most of us will go from the wrong angle, which is a place of deficit. I'm not here because I don't have fill in the blank. If I only had fill in the blank, then ... And so we're always seeing ourselves from this place of lack. Living from a place of deficit of progress is always going to put us in a place of feeling bad about ourselves, putting our in a place of self-conflict. We're always in self-conflict, because then we are negating everything we think about that we could do, because we're like, oh, that's never going to work for me. Oh, what am I thinking? Of course I'm going to screw this up. Or what have you. We will go down the line of the continuum according to that deficit mindset, as opposed to the opposite. The opposite instead is coming from a place of abundance. And I have the ability to learn, to grow, to develop, to meet new people, to interact with new opportunities. Like, this is the abundance. Like, right now could not be a better time for me. Right now could not be a more powerful opportunity. Right now is my chance. It's my opportunity to move forward. And then ultimately, we're at this place of not looking at your resources, but rather looking at your resourcefulness. Now, instead of saying, well, I don't know anybody, I can't do anything, I don't have this thing, I don't have that thing, it's, who can I call right now? Who's in my network that would be a great conversation? Who's somebody I could talk to that would really be encouraging? Or better yet, who's somebody I could call right now to encourage? Like, looking for the opportunity for you to be resourceful. Time, money, talent, these are all relative. And yet those are resources. And you'll say, well, I don't have enough time. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough talent. That is all deficit. Deficit mindset. No, what time do I have available? What kind of time can I make available? What kind of money can I put together? Or what can I raise? Or what can I earn real quick? Talent. What talent can I develop? What talent do I already have that I can bring to the world? Actions always beat resources. If you take action on these things about finding the time, about creating opportunities for wealth and money, about developing the talent, if you take these opportunities to say that I can be resourceful, you're in a place that's going to help you. And action will bring you to that place of resourcefulness, taking action. So, what do you want? That's really what this comes down to. And I don't know if I have these things. Man, what do you want? I don't know if I got it here. I don't have it here. So these are all my bonus stuff. So I'll get to that in just a second. So it comes down to these three questions. What do you want? That's number one. Most of us will never get to that place of saying, this is what I want. For some reason, we will self-sabotage, or we will have limiting beliefs because we don't give ourselves permission to go for what we want. We don't give ourselves permission to play as big as we could be playing. We would prefer to play small. We would prefer not to, put ourselves out there. And yet, that's the very thing that is inviting you. There's a quote from a guy I love named Joseph Campbell. And he says this. He says, "In the cave you fear to enter lies the treasure that you seek." It holds the treasure that you seek. Let that sink in. The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. Fear is an invitation. And if you're stepping out to do something that makes you a little intimidated, makes you a little nervous, maybe gives you some healthy anxiety, that might just be the very direction you need to go. In fact, I dare say that it's an invitation. Because through that thing, on the other side, is what you're looking for. It's the thing that unlocks elements of your brain, your emotion, your confidence. That's how you get to where you want to be. And clarity can only come when you know what you want. Then you can reverse engineer it. What's the next step? Decide what you want. Second one is, are you trying to move towards something or away from something? Most of us make decisions in context of what we don't want. We don't want to be bored. We don't want to feel like we're missing out. We don't want to be hurt. And we'll make all of our decisions to avoid the thing we don't want. And what we don't understand is that is a place of deficit. That, again, is this place that's a negative energy versus moving towards what you want. First, you have to decide what you want. And then second, make your decisions that are always pointing towards what you want. Not what you don't want, not trying to avoid what you don't want, but moving towards what you want. And then the third piece here is reverse engineering to say, what is the next step? What's the next step? What little thing can I do today to move me forward? And then tomorrow, what little thing can I do tomorrow that moves me forward? And the next day, what's the little thing that can move me forward towards the thing that I want. Clarity comes by taking the immediate before you and seeing what you can see. We're under the impression that clarity is we can see all the way across the field. That is not clarity. That's premonition of all sorts of prediction and sorcery and magic. And I don't know about you, I ain't got that. I do not have that. But for some reason we think that we can do that. We think we're magicians. We think we're sorcerers. We think that we have a crystal ball. It really comes down to what's the next step towards what you want. That's the thing that's going to help you fuel momentum. And then I want to take you into some components here that are going to help you kind of see some of these things. Again, what do you want? Are you moving towards it? Making decisions and actions towards it. And then the final piece is, what's the next step that you can do today? Got it? All right. So I've got some bonus stuff here for you. Let me see. I told you that one. This one. So in all of this, it is important that you keep the main thing the main thing. A mindset, keeping positive, filling it with good stuff. Sometimes it's music. Sometimes it's some kind of a motivational speaker or something that is going to move you and keep your mind in the right place. Number 2 is your attitude, not getting negative and critical and listening to all those nopes, right, that we talked about before. It's the inputs that you're taking in. Turn off the media. Don't listen to so much news. Get only what you need and get out. And then the 4th piece is nurture. Oh, look at that typo. Nurture yourself. Be kind to yourself. Like, make space for some mental health. Take a walk. Take a break. Drink lots of water. Breathe deep breaths. Do some meditation, some yoga, some stretching, some Pilates. Any of those things are going to help. That's how you keep the main thing the main thing. The next thing here is don't touch your face. During all of this, fear, attention, confidence, and energy, these are the things that will rob you. We're in COVID. You know you're not supposed to be touching your face. Wash your hands, bro. Wash your hands, sis. The fear. Don't give in to the fear. You'll feel the fear, but don't give in to the fear. Don't let it lock you up. Number 2, turn your attention towards the right things. Again, the things are going to move you forward. And 3rd is the confidence, or don't get to a place where you let your confidence get shaken. And then the 4th piece is energy. Oh, by the way, and on confidence, the way you can do that for your confidence is to stay optimistic, is that surrounding yourself with the right information, the right people, and the right attitude. Again, all these things that we're building upon each other. Get clear. So this is where we started. From the beginning, I told you, be calm. Get to the place where you can listen to your heart, to your conscience, that inner voice. Dial in your emotion. And here's an interesting thing I want to tie this into. We talked about the negative emotion, but here's the positive emotion is when you can see that thing that you want and you close your eyes, see yourself already possessing it. And then address that with your emotion of all the feelings you would feel as that is already so. That gratitude, that happiness, that fulfillment, that satisfaction, and feel that emotion. That will help you to take the action that you need to take today. That next step. And then repeat. This is the stuff that helps you move forward to get clarity on what you want for your future. So what do you want? Are you moving towards it or away? Are you making decisions about moving away from something, or are you going to make your decisions about moving towards something? Again, you want to make your decisions towards. The 3rd piece is, what's the next step? What's the step you can take today that moves you in the direction you want to go? So that's what I have for you today to share with you. Again, you're in this group, this upper tribe. I am so grateful to have you here. You know, and I've stated this before, that I'm a men's coach, but I've made this available to both men and women, any sexual orientation, really, I guess you could say. And there's this element that I want to share with you in context of, how I work with men is one thing, but the products that I'm spinning up, I'm trying to make some of those universal. The things that I'm discovering, the things that I'm studying, I'm creating content that's going to be relevant to everyone. And if you're here and perhaps your husband or your brother or someone that you know needs some guidance, needs someone to speak into their life, I would love that opportunity. So what I do is I help extraordinary men realize phenomenal purpose. That's what I do. And so that may look a little bit different for each person, but it comes to a couple of different things, and I like to call it the facts of life. These facts are: what kind of family do you want to raise? What's that marriage look like? How you're interacting with your kids? What's the priority that you have with your family? Number two is, what about the accountability you need to get to where you want to go? That's going to help you with those actions you need to take. It's going to help you develop routines that you can repeat on a daily basis that move you in those steps towards what you want, right? And it also helps you accelerate, right? That's a big piece. The third piece is clarity. I work with men the same way that I've shared some of the stuff with you tonight. I work with men to get clarity on what they want, how they're going to move towards it, and the actions they need to take, and put them on a schedule in 90 days or less to arrive at some of the things that they're trying to accomplish. That's huge movement, huge traction, huge acceleration. The fourth piece is teams. So in this acronym of FACTS is, how do you lead? How do you lead your company? How do you lead the management team you're a part of? How do you lead your teams? And that's also going to play into your understanding of emotional intelligence and self-awareness. And then the last piece here is stress management. In all of this, if you're leading, you're always developing some level of stress. And you add to that different obligations, clubs and sports that you might be involved with your family and kids. It might also incorporate some of the obligations you have as a family and some of the goals that you have. Like, add and stack all that stuff up, and sometimes it creates a lot of anxiety and stress. And I help you reposition all that stuff to understand it in a different context and help you to be able to apply the tools that I've learned in my life to get you moving forward. And with that, I want to thank you so much for making the time. If you have some questions, you can go ahead and put those in the comments. I can see down there. There are still some people. Let's see, Chad's in there, Chris is in there. If there's anyone else, that I'll just pause for a few minutes. So you have some questions about anything that I shared here tonight, I am more than happy to answer them for you. And I'll just pause for a couple minutes, and if there's no questions, feel free to put them in the comments later. If you are listening to the replay, go ahead and put that down in the comments as well. And I will be sure to answer any of your questions there in the stream or in the comment thread to see if there's anything I can do to help contribute, to bring some more perspective on the thing that I said, or some more insights. So I don't see any questions right now. I don't know why I've suddenly started to talk with a little bit of a southern accent, but it's okay. So with that, thank you so much for listening. If you are looking for some guidance, you can set up a call with me. I've got right there on the bottom here, right there. It's backwards. So manawealth.com/schedule. If you want to schedule some time to talk, you can go ahead and use that link. That'll get you in a conversation with me. Other than that, have a great night, and look forward to sharing with you more here in the Upper Tribe. Take care.